Hi guys, I'm so sorry. This is sort of not an ideal place to be doing this, but I ran late at work, so I'm in a taxi right now. Please let me know if you can't hear me well. I'm just on my way home, and we'll start here, and then I guess you'll see me on my commute home, and then we'll finish up in my apartment where I have my products and everything. So there's no set. Uh, plan for the day. I just selected, a couple of my favorite things that I've experienced over the last few weeks of doing this with Verishop. I get a lot of samples in the mail, um, and a lot of different products to try. And so, I try to keep track of which ones I think are really great and worth doing and worth buying, and which ones aren't. And so I've chosen a bunch that I think are worth it. So let's see where we want to start. So I think it's sort of helpful to think about, how we layer products. So, starting from cleansing to a toner, to a serum, to a moisturizer, to a sunscreen. So let's kind of like orient it that way. And as we go through, I will, just tell you why I like these various things. And obviously there's discounts on these as usual. So in the morning, I really like to wash my face with this Surface Deep Skin Wash, which is a glycolic acid based toner. I mean, based cleanser. And I think using a cleanser to deliver glycolic acid makes a lot of sense. Glycolic acid doesn't need a lot of time on the skin to have an effect. Whereas, certain things like retinol or niacinamide, you want to leave on overnight or during the day so that you get the effect of those actives. Whereas glycolic acid just needs a few seconds on the skin to kind of break down the dead skin cell layer. And so I think using it in a cleanser is really nice, and it allows your cleanser kind of to have multiple different purposes. One is it cleans your face, but two is that it gives you kind of like a nice glow and exfoliates you in a chemical way. When you exfoliate, you can do chemical exfoliation or physical exfoliation. Physical exfoliation is where you use kind of like rough um, particles to abrade the skin, and that can be done occasionally, but can cause a lot of irritation and a lot of skin damage. So it's always better to exfoliate chemically, and the best way to exfoliate chemically is with alpha hydroxy acids. The best alpha hydroxy acid is glycolic acid. So this uh, cleanser is based around glycolic acid. The second best alpha hydroxy acid in terms of the absorption and the effect of an alpha hydroxy acid is lactic acid. That's the next biggest molecule, and it absorbs just a little bit less than glycolic acid. And so that's a great one also. And so this wash has both lactic acid and glycolic acid. Lactic acid has a little more of a capacity to uh, draw moisture in, which is called a humectant, something that draws moisture in. And so the lactic acid helps the cleanser to kind of leave you, a little more moisturized afterwards. So I think it's a really, really good cleanser, and I've been liking this a lot. Um, then, a toner would be the next step in a skincare routine. Not everybody has to use a toner for sure. Nobody has to use a toner at all, but it's another way to add some hydration to the skin and add any other active you might want. So a toner that I've really liked that I've discovered over the past few weeks is this Indie Lee CoQ10 toner. It's just very hydrating, super watery, and has CoQ10 in it, which is an antioxidant. It's always a good idea to put an antioxidant on in the morning because antioxidants help prevent damage to your skin cells that the sun causes. So they actually help kind of enhance the effects of sunscreen. So you can use them at night also, and it sort of helps clean up, damaged molecules. But in the morning, it also helps prevent damage from the sun. So it's always a nice idea to use an antioxidant toner, serum, cream in the morning. So this is one that I've been liking a lot lately. Um, and again, sort of just like spritzes on, hydrates you, helps add some moisture to the skin before you might lock it in with another serum or another moisturizer. Um, just to go in a little more detail about antioxidants. So the skin's main antioxidant, the main, natural antioxidant of the skin is vitamin C. And we all need vitamin C for multiple purposes, but one of them is its antioxidant properties. And what antioxidants do is clean up um, they clean up what we call reactive oxygen species, which are molecules of oxygen usually that um, are uh, activated by environmental exposures like the sun, and they cause a lot of destruction in our cells. And so antioxidants are there in our cells naturally to clean up these kind of damaging oxygen molecules. And CoQ10 is one of these antioxidants that we can add onto the skin to help it, and do this um, activity better. Um, the next step, in a potential morning routine might be to add another serum. So specifically, we've been talking about vitamin C. So this is a really nice vitamin C serum that I really like. Again, it's very watery. It doesn't feel like there's a lot on your skin. I happen to like things that don't feel like you're wearing thick, creams and thick, slimy moisturizers and things like that. So I like when things like where you can layer them and they still are very hydrating and light. And so this is a super, super light, hydrating vitamin C. Again, a great way to add antioxidants on in the morning below your sunscreen. So vitamin C is one of the best antioxidants that we have. It's both the most important kind of endogenous antioxidant, but it's also one of the best topical antioxidants that we can add. Um, it has to be formulated correctly, and so you want to use it from a skincare brand that you trust because it breaks down very, very easily. But it has really nice properties on the skin, both its antioxidant properties. It helps enhance your sunscreen, so it helps prevent damage from the sun. It also is a lightener, so it helps it won't lighten your overall skin tone, but it'll help brighten the skin, help resolve, early sunspots, early hyperpigmentation, and things like that. So, it's a nice thing to incorporate into your routine. And I've been using this one in the morning. After a serum, again, if I wanted to be like a skincare maximalist, which you don't have to be, I might add a moisturizer. This one I just started using. It's just, a nice, really well absorbing moisturizer that is feels kind of dewy and moisturizing, but still doesn't leave like a thick, occlusive layer. It's important with moisturizers that there's some uh, occlusives because that's going to help prevent water loss. So with moisturizers, you want to have, usually most of them will have something that's humectant that draws moisture in, like glycerin or hyaluronic acid. And then most of them will have something that's more occlusive that locks moisture in, which might be waxes, oils, fats, fatty acids, um, hydrocarbons like aquaphor or Vaseline. So things like that help to lock moisture in, especially in the summer months when you're kind of like hot and sweaty. You don't really want anything super occlusive because you don't want the skin to feel tacky and heavy. So this one I really like because it just absorbs really well, feels really light. It doesn't feel like you're wearing anything super heavy. Um, and then over the top of a moisturizer, the most important thing for anybody, and I tell my patients this all the time, is sunscreen. If you've been watching me, you know that I feel that way. You know, our we age no matter what. But photo aging, which is kind of aging plus damage that the sun does, is far and away worse than just regular aging. And when I do body checks on people and I look at areas like under their underwear where they don't get a lot of sun, the skin looks very different than areas where they do get a lot of sun, like back of the neck versus the butt. The butt will be like have much newer, fresher looking skin. So that's because even though they've continued to age, they're not photo aging as much on the butt. So it's really important if you want to do things that are anti-aging, if you're going to be spending the money on using um, vitamin C and CoQ10 and other things that help with prevent with anti-aging, then it's better to stop it from its source, which is the sun. When you're looking for a sunscreen, you want to find something that has an SPF of 30 or higher. Once it gets to 30, it's blocking most of the UVB rays. SPF only measures UVB rays. So SPF of 30 blocks like 96% of UVB rays. As you get higher, like 50 to SPF 50, then you're getting up to like 97.5% blockage. So really minimal changes. And so that's why even if something's SPF of 30, as long as you like it and you're willing to wear it, it's better than using an SPF of 50 that you don't like wearing as much and that you're not going to put on as much. So you want to look for an SPF of 30. You also want to look for something that says broad spectrum. Broad spectrum is a term that the FDA regulates. It's not just a term that the company decided that they wanted to use. I can get out of here. Thank you. So broad spectrum is a term that the FDA regulates, and the company has to show to the FDA, thank you, that, sorry, I'm just getting, the company has to show to the FDA that if the product blocks enough UVA rays. UVA rays don't cause burning like UVB rays, and they don't cause as much skin cancer. But UVA rays cause a lot of photoaging. So broad spectrum is a hugely important term to look for on your sunscreen label. And this Supergoop Unseen sunscreen, like all of the Supergoop sunscreens, will say broad spectrum. This is SPF of 40, and it's broad spectrum. So that's the most important thing. If you're going to be doing activities like on the beach or jogging or something like that, you might want to look for water resistant. Water resistant is also a phrase that's regulated by the FDA. It's not made up by the company. It's not like, there's a lot of terms like natural. Natural is not regulated by the FDA. A company can just decide, okay, we're going to call this product natural and we're going to put it on the label, but it doesn't really mean anything. Nobody's looking at that company to figure out, is this natural? What does natural mean? Is it okay for them to call themselves natural? So there are certain labels that actually mean something where the FDA is going to make sure that the company is using the label correctly. And water resistant is one of them. So if water resistant, you can have either water resistant for 40 minutes or water resistant for 80 minutes. And those are things to look for if you're going to be doing activities with your sunscreens. Supergoop Unseen Sunscreen is my number one favorite sunscreen, and I think many, many people who have used it feel the same way. It's a pleasure to use. It's super, super light. I recommend it to almost everybody. It's totally clear, doesn't leave any white cast behind. It feels silky and matte. It doesn't feel tacky. And it's perfect for every skin type. Dark skin tones is perfect for. You don't see it at all. You don't see any white cast. A lot of tinted sunscreens, even if they have a darker tint, still are not great for darker skin tones because you can see the sunscreen once it's applied. So Unseen Sunscreen is absolutely fantastic, and I recommend it to everybody almost. Don't forget your body. I really like the Supergoop Glow Oil. I like that it's a spray, which makes it easy to apply, but it's not an aerosol, so it's better for the environment. It doesn't have those problems with the aerosols. If any of you have read about the aerosols, leaving them on the shelf increases their concentration of benzene, which I truly don't think is a big deal at all, and I wouldn't even worry about it at all. But this is not an aerosol, so you're avoiding that, and but you're still getting that benefit of the spray, so it's easy to apply at the back. It's easy to apply on kids. It smells pretty good. It feels nice. It feels sort of like oily and makes your body nice and shiny. But I find that a lot of the Supergoop products are sort of a pleasure to use, which is something new for me because I used to hate applying sunscreen, which as a dermatologist is just not really acceptable. So I used to really not wear a lot of sunscreen until I found these Supergoop products, which I find, pleasurable to wear. So it's great. Um, Another sunscreen that I really like from Supergoop, let's see, did I put this on? Oh yeah, is this one that's specifically supposed to be formulated for around the eyes. There's just something about this that I really like. It's a mineral sunscreen. For me, with my beard, it's kind of all I have to use because that's like my eye area. Essentially, I don't have to put it on my whole face. You could use it on your whole face, but it just feels kind of moisturizing. It feels light. It has um, a little bit of shine to it. So, which is really helpful around the eye area, just in terms of appearance. A lot of people have like circles around the eyes or darkness around the eyes, sunken eyes if you're tired. And this sort of makes your eyes look a little brighter. It changes the way light reflects a little bit. So light reflects off this area of the eye more, which makes it look less hollow. A lot of times when people have volume loss here, it's from shadowing under the eye. And makeups and things like that will create a little opacity here so that when light reflects, it looks a little fuller. And that's sort of what this sunscreen does. So I think it's a great sort of like 2-in-1. I think for men who are not going to wear makeup, it's a great way to kind of make the eye area feel more bright. So that would be like a great morning routine. Let's kind of shift into a really good night routine. So I am acne prone. So I really like this cleanser. It has some charcoal in it, which is helpful for acne. Um, and I just forget what the other thing was that it had. I'm sorry. Um, but it's a really good one, I find, for acne. It really helps my skin. I feel like it helps the blemishes. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting what the other ingredient is, but I think it has a little bit of an antiseptic property, and the charcoal, gives you a little absorption in the pores, and so I think it's a really nice cleanser for acne. And so I'll use this one at night. Um, there's a couple toners that I also really like for acne. This one uses silver, colloidal silver, so that means silver dissolved in the solution. Silver, interestingly, is antibacterial. We actually prescribe silver cream sometimes in burns called Silvadene, and silver is just kind of a broad but gentle antiseptic. It's antibacterial for a very wide range of bacteria. It doesn't cause antibiotic resistance. So this is kind of the first other topical besides Silvadene, that burn cream that I have found that uses silver. And so I think for acne, where you want to eliminate a lot of those P. acnes bacterias, propionobacterium acne, which is the main bacteria that causes acne, as any of you know who have been to dermatologists, we often prescribe a lot of antibacterial is for acne. And so this is a great way to, have a toner that goes on super, super light and just spritzes the skin with some colloidal silver, which is antibacterial. So I really, really like this one. Another alternative, if I were to use a different toner, for my oily skin, is this one, which I also really like. This is a witch hazel based toner. Witch hazel is a classic ingredient for toners. Toners used to be mainly for their astringent properties, and astringent is something that dries something up. So it's to dry up the pores, and witch hazel is like kind of the prototypical astringent. So I have never really used a true witch hazel toner. But of course, I know that toners often used to be mostly witch hazel. And this one is a witch hazel toner, and I really like it. I find that it does have a sort of a drying effect for the pores. And this is great for the morning or the evening. But I think for oily and acne-prone skin, it's a really nice toner. Another thing that I really like to use at night is this Alpha Peel by Young Paris. It's another alpha hydroxy acid based peel. It also has glycolic acid, lactic acid, and some other alpha hydroxy acids. Um, and this is more of a leave-on one, so that when you wake up in the morning, you have a nice, glowy complexion. You get that chemical exfoliation overnight. Using glycolic acid steadily over years has been shown to stimulate collagen, which is really actually interesting. Glycolic acid is something that's applied to the top of the skin. You have multiple layers of your skin. It's applied to the epidermis, and most of the activity of an alpha hydroxy acid is in the epidermis. It breaks down the bonds of the stratum corneum, or the dead cell layer. And so the fact that using this multiple times can actually stimulate collagen is really an interesting thing. And we really have true evidence for this. But that means that there's some activity of the glycolic acid that gets down all the way into the dermis where the fibroblasts are. Fibroblasts are cells that make collagen. So we would never have thought that glycolic acid just applied to the very top layer of skin to cause exfoliation could actually stimulate collagen formation down in the dermis by the fibroblasts, and it does. So if you want to do something that's anti-aging and that makes sure you're constantly stimulating your collagen and not getting old looking, then glycolic acid is a great thing to use regularly. So this is a really nice way to use it. You can use it in a cleanser, or you can use it in a serum like this, or both. Another great way to use alpha hydroxy acid is with a mask. So this is just another vehicle for applying your glycolic acid. This one you apply, you leave on for at least 15 minutes, and then you wash off. And this is another thing that you can do. I don't think you have to do this every day. I think that can get you irritating, but like once a week, doing a mask like this can leave your skin nice and glowy. It gives you that nice chemical exfoliation. Doing it regularly is going to give you collagen stimulation. So I think, this is another great way to get that alpha hydroxy acid. Night cream. So let's say, I did my toner and I've exfoliated already. Now, let's say I do this mask. Now I want to use a moisturizing night cream. So at night, you can use something a little thicker. You're not going to be out in the day. You're not going to be sweaty. It's a great time to apply actives and apply sort of a thicker, maybe a little more occlusive moisturizer so you don't get any water loss at night. And so that you wake up with your skin nice and moisturized and dewy. This one is really interesting. It's a moisturizing cream with methylene blue. If anybody is in healthcare at all, they probably don't think of methylene blue as something that you'd be applying on your skin. It's this bright blue dye. that we use to stain slides, or we use it in surgery to identify lymph nodes. It's just this bright blue dye that we use for all of these various applications. But it's actually it actually has some activity in the skin, which I think it acts as we use it as an antidote to certain types of poisoning. And I think it does something with your hemoglobin where it helps to, sorry, I should have done more research on this, but it helps to kind of like refresh your hemoglobin. So it's used as an antidote when we get something called methemoglobinemia, which hopefully no one here will ever get, which can come from poisoning. And it helps to bring the hemoglobin back to regular hemoglobin. And so it has some like interesting activities in the body. And I was sort of skeptical, but I actually have been using this the past few nights, and I feel like I wake up and really look better, which is amazing. And I've never heard of using methylene blue in topical skincare before, and I've never heard anybody mention it. So it's really interesting to me. I wanted to include it. I haven't done all my research into it yet, but I think it's a really cool idea, and I think it's something that if I keep using and really liking, I'm gonna start carrying in the office, because I think it's really, really cool, and I've never heard of it before. Some other things that I've been really liking. So that would be like my end of my night routine. Just in the last 3 minutes, if nobody has any questions, I'll go over some of the other things that I really like. Some of my favorite things. One is micellar water, which I think is awesome. I use it in the office every time I do a procedure on a patient. I'll wipe off their face with some micellar water. It's basically water with some micelles in it. Micelles are like little pieces of detergent, but it makes it very, very gentle, and they basically kind of just collect the oils on the skin and wash off. And so micellar water is a great way to cleanse the skin. You don't have to rinse it afterward. It's super, super gentle, very, very low irritation. Um, and so this is just a great, thing to have around where if you want to just like clean out your makeup in a very non-irritating way, where you don't have to rinse it again. It's awesome. This self tanner I've been really liking lately. I think it gives you a really natural glow, and I'm always sort of on the lookout for a good self tanner, because I do have patients who come in who really want to be tan, and obviously I tell them that any tan that they get, even though it looks attractive, is going to be replaced with wrinkles and sunspots and skin cancer down the road. And I've seen a lot of that. People who I know tans look nice, but then after a certain time, your body starts to recognize it, and people will come in and say, "But I'm so good about my sunscreen." I'm like, I know, but it's from years and years and years of cumulative sun exposure. It's not just from the last year. So even tans that you got as a child will catch up with you eventually, and you pay for it. So I'm always on the lookout for a good self tanner, and I think this one is really good. It feels very, very light. It doesn't have a bad smell. Um, it sort of increases your shade gradually. So after using it a few times, you look kind of really natural. And I think it gives you just like a really beautiful sort of golden tan. So I really like this one. And then my hair looks terrible now because it's raining and I'm under an awning. But I've been using this leave-in conditioner, which I think is really great for your hair. As a dermatologist, we do deal with hair issues. And with hair, when you use a conditioner, basically you're moisturizing the hair strands, and so that you get shine to the hair. And since they're a little heavier, they may kind of may give them a little more shape or a little more volume. And so I find that this is just a really nice way to kind of like give the hair a little volume without getting any cold, which I really, really like. And so I just wanted to include this. So anyway, that's the end of my live. I hope you guys learned something, and you're always welcome to reach out either on this app or on Instagram at Dr. Dan. Okay. Hope everyone has a good week.